Right now, telecom and Earth observation are the only two industries that you can really make a buck in space besides the transportation itself through rocketry.
The default thought 10 years ago was that there's a business in launch that's worth a few $1 billion a year. There's a business in communication, and there's business in Earth observation, and all the rest is kind of up for grabs. And it certainly seems to me that that observation holds true today.
From like the 50s when we first started putting satellites into space until about 2020, the sum total of satellites in low Earth orbit was roughly around 2,200. Every year you'd be lucky to put up 50 or 60. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we're on this exponential curve now. So we've put up thousands upon thousands of satellites. We're up over 10,000 in low Earth orbit now. So this is like a huge dramatic shift. I mean, this would have been like unthinkable even just 5 years ago. Now there's more of an era where you can buy a cheap rocket from a company like Rocket Lab. They're getting to the point where they're launching about every 2 weeks, every week, and you can get your own spot on that rocket and get put directly into this orbit you want to go to. You can basically buy it with a credit card online and order your launch. And then there's SpaceX, which it gives you this much larger rocket. And they do these rideshare missions where different satellite companies all buy space on this shared rocket. Now you can just hitchhike a ride on this rocket with a bunch of other satellites, all share the cost, and get up for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So other launch providers will charge you what they think you can afford. We believe in everyday low prices.
We flew our first satellite on a Falcon rocket, and then that wasn't enough, so we went and got our own dedicated Falcon 9. In fact, we have two. And that would just never have been possible for a company like ours to be out buying our own dedicated rockets, with no government assistance. That would just be unthinkable 20 years ago.
You get from this era where getting to space is rare, expensive, precious, to something closer to like a commodity.
And it turns out, no matter who you are, when there's a rocket launch, everybody's just a big kid, right? Everybody's super excited to see this thing go up and give high fives and give handshakes. Everybody feels like they're pulling together in this space where we're doing new things and seeing what's next in this new frontier.
Getting these launch costs down has just enabled this huge array of new applications by small satellites and done by all new companies. And that is just a huge sea change from how anything ever was before.
Building the satellite that's 30 miles wide that can stare down at the planet and can build a real-time 3D map of the world.
There's so much that we could be doing. It's kind of insane. Like, we could be preventing wildfires. We could be more efficient with our water use and farming and feed more people around the world. I think the potential for taking care of our planet, for security around the world, for prosperity across different areas of learning and health and industry is really enormous through space.
You had companies like Planet Labs. They make these tiny shoebox-sized satellites. They proved you could use consumer electronics pretty readily in orbit. You could change the size of satellites. You could have a plant in San Francisco where you're mass manufacturing these things instead of it being $1 billion precious object that takes 10 years to build and is meant to stay in space forever. You put up these modern computers and you let them fall back and you replace them.
When I joined Planet, the mission to image the Earth's surface every day. And that required obviously putting up a lot of spacecraft in order to do that. Planet was really, I think, one of the key companies at the time that was really on the one end of the spectrum of let's launch things and test it in space and just sort of go fast.
We've already seen people like Planet Labs rethinking the entire concept of what a satellite could be. There should be more of those. I think there's still a whole bunch of opportunity there. Or other constellations that are allowing us to look at the Earth more powerfully than ever before, not just optically with imagery, but with radar images that measure distance and LiDAR and a bunch of new things that are coming down the pipe for ways to understand our Earth and what's going on it.
So SpaceX was the next company that immediately took this constellation idea and blew it up even further.
Starlink itself is just an incredible business opportunity that was made possible by lower cost of access. To say, what if we flew thousands of satellites in the place of single ones before that give us constant access for broadband?
We have these Starlink antennas. You think of it as like you're just getting high-speed internet in some remote location. I think of it in this totally different way, where it's blanketing the Earth and creating this type of fabric. This global communication layer, which space will be the main driver of, will be a huge deal. We're around 10,000 satellites now, 6,000 of which are Starlink satellites. I think we get to 100,000, 200,000 over the next, call it decade, 15 years.
connectivity with space is still stuck in a different era. So a lot of satellite companies accept outages and blackouts in a way that would be completely unacceptable in another industrialized sector. What we're doing is trying to reset those expectations for the space industry to say, no, if you want to industrialize space, the baseline should be that satellites are by default always online. So we help satellite companies send data to support global connectivity, which we believe is an important underpinning factor in being able to industrialize the space economy. The key demonstration point for what we're building is showing that we have a more efficient technology to communicate with satellites. That technology is phased array antennas. Okay, we're less than a minute out now. 10 seconds.
All right, we are tracking.
Oh yeah, look at that hump. You guys, look. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. All right, we got it. Cheers.
Northwood.
To Frankie.
To Frankie.